Hello everybody, happy Wednesday! Once again we are back to that time of week. Very exciting things to report. Check out my my runner beans or my giant dwarf beans, whatever they are. We're not quite sure what they are because my little girl, who is obsessed with ice lollies, we had little ice lolly sticks stuck in them and we'd written the names of the seeds that we'd sown in each pot. And my little baby, my little two-year-old's been through all of them. Ooh, ice lolly. Swat it on the floor because there's no ice lolly connected. Ooh, ice lolly. So now we've got absolutely no idea what any of them are. This could be a runner bean. It could be a giant French bean. It's potluck what it is. It's definitely something. But until we get it out in the garden and it grows, we've got absolutely no idea what it is. I think these are tomatoes, these little seedlings that are starting to come up here. This is very, very exciting. And after I have recorded this video today, I'm going to spend some time repotting all of the seeds that have come up. And at this point, I'm just going to have to put all of the seeds with other ones that look like them because I've got absolutely no idea what anything is, but that's pretty much what our house is like. Utter madness, but full of love. And I'm very excited about that because I'm going to take them, well, these little pots that they're in at the moment are they're wood pulp, so the seedlings can actually grow down through the little pots. They're biodegradable, and when they break down, they've got nutrients and things in them. But I'm going to put those little pots into some bigger pots and then wait one more month, and then they're going out in the garden. And it's been snowing in the UK this week, so I'm glad I didn't put them out already because they would have all been dead. And the thought of that happening just makes me feel so sad. I don't actually know how I'm going to cope with this garden because I'm one of those people that gets very, very, very attached to plants. And I could still cry even now thinking about a fern that I had 3 years ago called William. And I absolutely loved that plant. And it gave me no warning. One day I went to bed and William was absolutely thriving, full of happiness, vitality, looked amazing. It couldn't have looked any better. And then the next day I woke up and William wasn't there anymore. Its spirit had gone, it was all shriveled up, and I still feel sad about that now. So I don't really know how I'm going to cope putting all of these little teeny baby seedlings that I've nurtured, literally from seeds, into my garden just to watch them probably all get blown away by the UK wind. Storm Dennis is on its way. But you know, I'm trying very, very hard to put some love back into Gaia and to get me and my family in a position whereby we have a food source in our garden that we can live off should the metaphorical SHIT all hit the fan. And talking about that, it's been another crazy week in the world. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and now I've finished my college course. I've not been able to do any reading whatsoever about anything other than hypnotherapy and psychotherapy for the past year. And now my course is finished and I've got my diploma. I am now able to read other books. So I've started reading again this book, and I have mentioned this before. I don't know if you can see the cover properly. I think the first book I mentioned was Voyagers 1, which I read, which was good. It was good. There was some good information in there about all of the different species of aliens, as we would call them. And it discusses alien abduction in that one. But Voyagers 2 is incredible. Now, it's very, very hard to get a copy of this. Because it went out of print like a gazillion years ago and they've not reprinted it. And I've tried very hard to get a copy. And I've been scammed twice. because I'm just so gullible, and I thought that they had a copy of this book when in actual fact they didn't. It's very, very rare, and a lovely lady who I know has allowed me to borrow this and read it, and I've almost finished it now, so I will be giving it back to her, but I would have loved to have found a copy of this myself. If you manage to get hold of a copy of this and read it, then I would strongly suggest you do. The entire book, and it's quite thick, I don't know if you can see in this light, it's quite thick, look. The entire book is basically about, it's about everything really. It's about the actual history of Earth. So what has really transpired on Earth from the beginning. It's about Atlantis, Lemuria. It's about all of the secret schools of knowledge. It's about Egyptian times, but it's about the ascension teachings of Egyptian times. And then it discusses the actual ascension that's happening on our planet. And it talks about this ascension in really scientific terms, like it's an event that happens twice, so it's an opportunity that is available twice every 4,000 and something odd years for mass ascension. And we are in the period of time right now where ascension, the potential for mass ascension, is available. Now, I'm not sure if all of the timescales discussed in this book are correct in terms of where we are now, because this book is a channeled work, I believe, from various different higher consciousness beings that are members of the council, and it was published in 98, I think it was 1998. So potentially some of the timelines, some of the years discussed in this book may well have shifted because of things that have happened in our actual timeline. But that being said, the information that's brought forward in this book is mind-blowing. And as I have been working my way through this, I copied out an excerpt of this book to share with you guys today, because I thought that you might want to hear it. And because this book is very difficult to get hold of, I thought I would write it down. I often write down bits of information that I come across in this notebook, which is mine, to do with the event and ascension, just so I can refer back to it at a later time, because the amount of times that I've said to somebody, I'm sure I've read that somewhere, but I'm not sure if I'm just making it up. So now, every time I come across something to do with ascension, I write it in my book. So, it's talking about, in this book, it's talking about basically this period of time that we're in now is an opportunity for people to evolve. And the light codes and everything that's coming in right now, because of where we are in the universe, gives those people that have higher levels of consciousness and a higher level of DNA, more advanced level of DNA, the opportunity to begin assembling more threads of DNA so that they are vibrating at a higher level and becoming more higher levels of consciousness. So again, in correspondence to what Dolores Cannon talks about, whose method of hypnotherapy I practice, it's talking about this splitting of particles, splitting of the worlds. And it basically says everything has the opportunity to vibrate higher because of the energy that is being infused over Earth at this period of time. And then the choice is made whether that vehicle wants to accept the higher frequencies or reject them. And again, that is down to, I'm guessing, where your consciousness is at. And so I'm going to read the rest, and you'll have to excuse me if I stumble over any words. because I wrote this down in my handwriting, and I wrote this down, it must have been about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night time, and I was shattered. So if I cock up my words, I do apologise. So it says, humans who have assembled all of the 4th DNA strand and half of the 5th will perceive the transition to 5D as the emergence of new lands and structures on the Earth, and the literal disappearance of some of the existing Earth structures. Humans who do not assemble these strands will perceive a different reality entirely. During this transition, the particles of Earth that are unable to fully shift into the faster pulsation rate will not make it into the bridge zone. Now, this book talks about this thing called the bridge zone, which in my understanding is the area that we are in right now, in between exiting 3D and going into 5D. And when I say we, I mean those of us who are actively working on our consciousness and on the ascension path. So the people that are still completely in 3D, plugged into the matrix, they are not in the bridge zone. They are still in the 3D time-space period. But those of us that have chosen to evolve and ascension, we are now passing through an area that is called the bridge zone. And I believe that's where we are now. So it's the place where we go just before we're resonating at that 5th dimensional frequency, at which point everything that we see then changes, because the resonance that we hold resonates with the newly birthed new Earth plane. So as soon as our resonance matches the resonance of new Earth, that's what we'll see. I'll carry on, sorry. So during this transition, the particles of Earth that are unable to fully shift into the faster pulsation rate will not make it into the bridge zone. The particles that do not shift will create a phantom Earth that will return to the 3D time cycle. The phantom Earth will no longer remain attached to the morphogenetic field of Earth. This condition is referred to as a planet being cut out of the grid. The planet is no longer attached to the evolutionary imprint contained within its morphogenetic field. A phantom planet is no longer capable of evolving out of the harmonic time cycle in which it is placed. So again, just to reiterate, it's talking here about the part of the planet when the split happens that stays 3D. So the part of the planet that splits, that stays 3D, is effectively cut out of the grid. And that is no longer considered an ascension planet, it is called a descending planet. A descending planet will continue to evolve within its harmonic universe time cycles, slowly expending the energies in its core until its particle pulsation rhythms slow, its temperatures cool, and eventually it implodes to become a black hole. So that is what happens to the 3D descending planet. And it can take billions of years, apparently, for that to happen. It doesn't occur quickly. In the case of Earth's coming changes, when the planet is shifted to the bridge zone, the portions of Earth's particles that do not make that shift to the bridge zone, and then ultimately to 5D, will become the phantom Earth, the descending Earth. The phantom Earth, version of Earth will be cut off from the interdimensional time matrix grid, and the phantom Earth will return to the 3D time cycle. Humans remaining in the 3D time cycle, so the phantom Earth, will not benefit from the genetic acceleration opportunity that is open to bridge zone humans, as they will be cut from the sphere of Amenti morphogenetic field, which will remain in Earth's core in the bridge zone ascending planet. They will follow a different course of evolution on the descending earth. It is much more difficult for individual souls to ascend from such a planet, as their personal connection to the sphere of Amenti morphogenetic field, which allows direct access to their higher dimensional identity, becomes severed. The consciousness of the accelerating individuals will expand, while the ones of the people entering the descending planet will stay about the same. Now, this is why I'm mentioning this, because I think this is very important given what we can see in the world right now. So we see all of this chaos, and you don't need me to mention all of the chaos that's going on, because we'll be here all day and I don't want to focus my energy on it. But there's lots of chaos going on in the world, but that is not our world. So these two groups of people will become progressively more invisible to each other as the procession of their lives moves in opposite directions. There will appear to be a natural sequence of events that occurs as individuals of lower accretion begin to move out of the lives of those with higher accretion, to be replaced by those who have higher accretion levels. Those of lower accretion levels will find themselves more and more in like company. And I would agree that that's happened in my life. Literally, when I woke up several years ago now, everybody dropped out of my life. Everybody. Apart from my husband, my kids, and my parents. Through the fact that they were my parents, kind of like tolerated me, but thought I'd completely lost my marbles. Fortunately now, they understand that I was completely right, and they totally get it. But at the time, they thought I'd lost it. The progressive separations of populations will take place as the particles which compose the bodies and consciousness of people with higher accretion, DNA strand assembly levels, begin to pulsate at progressively faster rhythms, moving people of higher and lower accretion levels farther and farther out of each other's perceptual range. During the coming transitions, particle fields are separating. The bodies and consciousness of people are made of particles. Thus, humanity will also experience separation of its peoples into those with faster and slower particle pulsation rhythms. All humans will experience Earth's temporary shift into the 4D time cycle and the stellar activations that create this shift. Humans with lower accretion levels will have difficulty assimilating the frequencies of the stellar activations. The stellar activations will create time acceleration for the people of Earth. This acceleration can be used to advance the evolutionary blueprint through consciously assimilating these energies into the body in order to create greater health, vitality, harmony and awareness. If the new frequencies are not assimilated into the body, the time acceleration will apply to the degeneration of the body and consciousness and the manifestation of disharmony and disease within the body. The two Earths will coexist simultaneously within the 4D time cycle between 2012 and 2017, and each of the two groups of people will simultaneously perceive two different sets of events. In order to comprehend the nature of these changes, one must realise that the energy dynamics taking place involve Earth's particle base being separated into two different rhythms of particle pulsation, and the particle substance out of which human bodies and consciousness are composed will also experience such a separation. In 2017, human populations will completely separate into two groups, each perceiving a different set of events play out. These events will take place in two separate fields of particle pulsation rhythm. It will be as if part of the population switched the channel on the television set of manifest events. One group remains watching the old channel, and the other group switches the channel of perception to a new station. Group 1, who are on the descending planet perceptual station. These humans with lower accretion levels will perceive none of the multidimensional activity that is taking place. And it goes on to say, as time progresses, when the actual ascension event happens, so when the two split worlds permanently split, so we can no longer see each other anymore. At the moment, we're coexisting in the same space, and we're two different rhythms of pulsation, because everything's frequency. When the actual ascension event happens and our frequency splits away from the lower frequency, the guys on the lower earth will experience a 3-day period of tension, a disruption of electrics, as earth, the higher earth, separates from that higher grid. And to them it will appear as if people have vanished, because we're no longer in their perceptual field of vision, because our particle pulsation has increased to such a level that we disappear. Group 2, who are in the bridge zone perceptual station currently, so we're currently in the bridge zone before we move to 5D, will begin to experience lower vibrating things disappearing. So lower vibrating people are no longer part of your life. We will begin to see new land masses emerge, new creatures emerge, passageways to inner earth will begin to become visible. Keepers of the blue flame and keepers of the violet flame will receive their wake-up call and progressively undergo 6-star crystal stellar activations and wave infusions, activating strands of DNA 5 to 9 between 1996 and 2017. And this was the key part that I got out of this book. After 2022, so we've just gone into 2020, after 2022, the evolutionary path for Earth's populations will be set. The two versions of Earth will progress forward in their respective time cycles, unaware of each other. And I also wrote down, ascend. While ascension is relatively easy, during this period between 2012 and 2022 ascension cycle. For if you do not, ascension and soul evolution will be much more difficult thereafter for you and your future incarnations. So this book, this Voyages 2, The Secrets of Emanating, discusses a 10-year period on Earth, which we are just coming to the end of now. So it started at 2012, leading into 2022, ending, 2022. And that 10-year period with the light frequencies that are coming in gives us the opportunity to raise our frequency to a point whereby we can ascend. That book says after 2022, that potentiality is past because of the light frequencies coming in then start to decrease and we move out of range. So maybe that's this sense of urgency that I feel personally about, we must raise our frequency, we must raise our vibration. I really do feel that now is the time that we need to collectively start to move together in order to raise our frequencies more. Before we were just holding frequency around the planet. But now it really does feel like we've moved into a different phase where we need to be encouraging each other to meet up with each other more. And you know, in the UK, we've got an event coming up on April the 18th, in terms of anybody can meet up in Leicester to share light, to share experiences, to talk about Dolores' work, to talk about anything basically to do with the light. You know, also as well, I've been trying to encourage people to join together on a Wednesday, 10 p.m. UK time, to meditate, to bring our light together to help planetary ascension. So I felt like there's a sense of urgency around it. And obviously we got all of the information at the back end of last year from Lisa Armstrong and Derek Mendelssohn's session, when Dolores Cannon came through and said that it will, you know, things will start to massively progress this year, and it won't take too much longer. Yvette Shepherd's session, where she channeled the Council of Nine, where they came through and said mass awakenings this year and ascension will be happening. My session, where I channeled Source, that said this is it, the time is happening now. Everybody needs to realise that they are a part of Source and make the choice to raise their frequency. And as soon as we're resonating at that higher frequency, we're out of here, basically. So I thought I would read that part of that book today, because it's not very often you come across a book that speaks specifically in scientific terms about ascension, that is an old book. So it came out in '99. Very interesting book. If you can get hold of it, I would strongly recommend it. Voyages to The Secrets of Amenti by Ashiana Dean. So, just spent half an hour chatting with you guys as usual. Terrible, aren't I? I'm so sorry. I am going to move on to today's session now. I am seeing a lot of talk in my sessions at the moment about the light and the dark. You know, the past two videos that I've done have been on the galactic wars, which is the role of the light versus the darkness, the balance, the shift, the tensions between the two. And this particular client, their entire session was basically on the role of the dark and the light, the role that they play for each other and why both are important. Now, for me personally, I always find it very hard to acknowledge the role of the darkness, because I am the light. I'm a light worker, I'm a light warrior in many incarnations. I would never choose to play the role of darkness. I align myself fully with the light of Source in all that I do. That being said, I feel after listening to this man's session, like I understand a little bit more why the darkness exists, because up to having this session, I would have been more than happy to just eradicate the darkness completely, particularly knowing the role that it has played on this planet, what it's been doing to the children on this planet. I could quite cheerfully blow it all up, like without a second thought. But this guy brings a very interesting perspective. So I'm going to read it because I feel it's one of the services that I provide in this incarnation, is bringing information to everybody. So I'm going to read it. Make of it what you will. So I ask him what he sees. I see dappled light, little pustules of dappled light, olive green in the middle. I can see a shimmering light above me and it's pulsing. Describe that light for me. They're quite muted colours, like greys and bits of red and yellow, but it's all quite muted. It's like I'm lying down and looking up at the sky. And I can see some trees next to me at the side, and I feel totally relaxed as if I'm floating. Good. So as you become aware of yourself in this place, what do you look like? I don't know. I feel like an energy, but I'm a bit confused. It's almost like I'm water. I'm looking at a waterfall. Describe that waterfall. It's dark rock, and I'm just seeing a waterfall flowing over it, and I feel like it's gone into a pond. I don't feel myself being separate from the water. I feel like I'm just part of it. What does that feel like? Very tranquil. It's like I'm now seeing that there's a light above me that's shimmering, but I don't feel like it's separate. It's like I'm in the water looking up into the heavens. I don't feel myself as being separate. I feel like I'm floating. You don't feel like a separate being, you feel a part of everything. Yes. It's a bit odd, it's hard to describe because the images keep changing. I feel as if I'm looking upwards through branches. There's branches off to the right hand side. And I'm looking up through rainbow flickering lights. I don't feel myself as anything other than I'm just a part of everything. Do you feel like you are the water? It's an odd sensation. It's like I am the water, but also a fractal of it. It's like I'm part of the water, but separate from it at the same time. I'm looking at the sky and I feel like I'm floating. I feel like I just am. I feel like I'm floating as if I'm an element within the water. I now feel like I'm churning, but I don't feel any discomfort from that. I'm just going with the flow. Tell me what that feels like. It's very peaceful. It's like I just am. I'm just light. I'm not seeing any sorts of images as such. I just feel so calm, as if what I am is elemental maybe. My purpose is just to be. I don't feel like I've got any sort of body per se. I can see light, little glimmers of light that are getting expanded. Describe that for me. It's like there's a ball above me and it's shooting out in different directions. It's like I'm looking at the sun but through water. I just feel so calm with it. I feel very much as if I am just existing within a body of water. It's hard to explain. I've almost got a sensation as if I have a body, an individuality, but I don't feel separate from the water. How does it feel when that light shines down on the water that you are? Warm. I feel it here in my heart. I feel like it's an overwhelming feeling. It's a warmth. It's like everything is flickering in front of me. But there's nothing solid as such. I'm just floating. Is there anything that you are aware of as this water? You mentioned some trees and branches. I'm aware of rocks and trees above me to my right. It's as if I'm flowing under them. There's a darkness. It's not an insipid darkness or frightening. It's a bluey black, like I'm under the rock. It's a very tranquil feeling. I feel like I'm going underground now, as if it's a tunnel. I'm drifting slowly, but I'm getting a sensation that I'm going underground now. There's a flat or an engineered rock passing over me above. I can see angles. I'm just floating and I feel like it's a structure, but it's rock and I'm just going down it. I'm looking around and I can see what seems to be engineered rocks, and I'm half making out, I want to say that it's something like shapes in the rock. There's some sort of light in front of me, and again I'm just floating. There doesn't seem to be any beings here. Oh, now I feel like I'm going quicker. It's like I'm going down a country road and the trees either side look like a negative, like they are fluorescent, and I'm on a black land moving in the middle, like I'm in blackness. What sensations do you get as this happens? Now I feel as if I'm shaking, as if I'm vibrating from side to side. Now I can see the sun coming through a cloud. I feel like I'm just there, experiencing it. Now I'm seeing a rocky brook, and I'm going down into it, flowing through channels as the water. Excuse me. I'm part of it all, but I'm separate. I feel chilly. I feel cold, as if the temperature of the water has dropped. So I'm going to have to excuse me for one moment whilst I get a drink, because my throat is killing. Just 1 second. Amuse yourselves. Sorry about that. And this happens when I'm hypnotising people and they're under hypnosis. Oh. And you're sat next to somebody asking people questions, but your throat is itching so bad, and you're just basically having to sit glued to a bottle of water like this and drink continuously in between questions so you don't start coughing. I don't know what I would do with that water. My throat gets so much hammer, bless it. My throat deserves a medal in this incarnation. The amount of hammer it's had, poor thing. First I was a singer, now I'm a hypnotherapist. I bet it's ready for a rest. So, I shall continue. So he says he's seeing a rocky brook now, and he feels like he's going down into it, flowing through channels as the water. I'm part of it, but I'm separate. I feel chilly. I feel cold, as if the temperature of this water has dropped. Is that part of the water away from the light? Yes. There is a very weak light coming in, like there's a manhole cover way above, and there is some light seeping through that. I feel like I'm the water in some sort of subterranean labyrinth type thing, and I'm just floating. A bit like when you see the old pictures of Byzantium or something. I feel like I'm just there. I don't feel like I've got a purpose other than to just be and just float. So at this point I think, well, we've experienced him as being water for quite a while, so I'm going to move him. So I close that scene and I drift and float him to an important day that we need to see. Where are we? I feel like I'm on a road in a valley. It's very misty. I can see the sun, but it feels like I'm being hemmed in a way. Become aware of your point of perception. If you look at yourself, what do you look like? I'm aware of some kind of feet, but they don't really look like feet, and it looks like they're made of sand. I can't see a body. I'm just seeing a mound of sand and a light energy like a flame. But I'm not seeing a body as such. It's like I'm just, oh, I feel like I'm slipping. I'm going over a landscape, a bit like a tundra, and I'm moving upwards. It feels like water, but I'm not water this time. It's like it's plasma that I'm floating along. It looks a bit scaly. How does it feel to be that plasma? It feels like nothing. and now it's gone dark. Tell me more about that. Again, I'm floating down a chamber or structure that is flat, as though it's been engineered. I can feel myself floating down it, and it feels quite cold where I am. What is it that you are floating towards? Do you have any sense of that? Now I feel like I've come to a dead end. It feels cold again. I get glimpses of light. I feel like I'm in a chamber. I'm trying to see if there's a door or anything. I can make out a roof, but I can't see anything else. Ooh, I've just got the impression, the feeling that I'm being observed. Who do you feel is observing you? I get the impression that it's something that does not want to interact with me. It's quite happy to be over on one side, and I'm here at this side. Now the scene has changed, and I'm flying over a landscape on one side that looks quite desolate, as though it's been blown up. I'm going through that landscape, and I'm looking for things to show me where I am, but the landscape looks like it's just been devastated. As you travel along this landscape looking for something, do you have a sense of what you are? Examine yourself. I just had this image in my mind of almost like a humanoid head, but I feel like I'm made of stone. And then he takes a really sharp intake of breath, and I say, what just happened? I got a really sharp sensation across my chest. Tell me what happened. I saw myself like I was one of these like stone large beings, like I'm a guardian that wasn't human. It's got humanoid features, but it's not human, and it's about 20 feet tall. I don't feel like I have any emotions as such, and I feel like whatever I am has something to do with the devastation of this planet. I can't see myself doing any of it, but I suddenly thought that I am a part of this. And now the scene has changed, and I'm going through this valley. I'm flying over this valley, and the valley is green now. And it looks quite tranquil. And I'm just moving over it as if I'm mapping it in some way. I've got this sensation of it's got something to do with the earlier image of where everything is devastated. It's like I'm not wanting to identify too much with how it's changed. It's as if I'm not allowing myself to admit that I did it. But in some sense, I know it was me, or I did nothing to stop it. Sorry, guys. My throat is hanging on by a thread this week. I've got 2 more sessions this week. And then next week, I've got 3 people booked in, and I'm not booking any more in. I'm going to have a bit of a break next week because I'm exhausted. I've been working so hard. I was thinking about this earlier today. For the past 5 years, over the past 5 years, and within 5 years, I've had 2 children. I've left a job as a singer and a recruitment manager, and retrained as a quantum healer and a clinical hypnotherapist and psychotherapist. I've hypnotised hundreds of people, and I've written and published 4 books, and I've set up this YouTube channel. I've done so much in 5 years, and I feel like I'm really being guided now to slow down a little bit. I absolutely love pulling cards, so angel cards, tarot cards, all that sort of thing. And over the past few weeks, or the past 2 weeks, I've been pulling cards, and every time I've pulled cards out of the pack, it's been things like, take a rest, or just breathe, or take time for yourself. You know, all of these little signs, and I really do feel like the universe is saying to me, right, you've done so much over the past 5 years. You need to take a little break now. I was going to start, because I've written 20,000 words on my 3rd book in the Isadora Stone series. And I'm really enjoying that. Really enjoying it because it goes inside the oceans on this one and off planet and introduces all sorts of different characters. But I need a break. So I am pushing back the release date of that to later on this year, because hopefully by then we'll be on New Earth anyway, and then I won't have to finish it. And then I can just tell you all the ending whilst we're all sat round a tree hugging it, something like that. That would be good. Right, so he's now flying over this place that he'd originally seen desolate, and it's now turned to green, and he's realising that this desolation that he's seen has got something to do with him in some way, but he's not quite sure. So I say to him, and so you can see this place as a green valley. Yes, and then it changes as though it is burnt and ripped to sunder, basically. And how did that change occur? Tell me more about that. I can see like there's a big light coming through the clouds, like a plasma sort of thing. Very dark clouds, very bright light. It's pulsing as if it's firing off energy, and everything starts going dark. A very dark cloud. And then this bright orb has appeared, and then it's dark again, and it's really cold where I am. And this pulsing orb that you can see, has this created the darkness where you are? Yes, I believe it has. What is the purpose of this orb? What is it there for? I think it just hated the light. It hated the goodness. Why did it hate the goodness? What made it feel that way? I get the impression that it's a malevolent being. Oh my God, I actually said malevolent without cocking it up. I always say that wrong. But it's too big to view it all at once. It's got humanoid features, but again, it looks a bit like a rock. And it's a bluish black colour. And its body, it almost looks like it's small Rice Krispies, but dark. And there's a goo in it. It's dark goo in pockets of Rice Krispies, almost like chainmail, but it's all part of this entity, this darkness. And this entity is now blanketing the ground as if it's terraforming the land, as if it's terraforming it to be dark and destroying all of the light. And how does this entity do that? How does it destroy all of the light? I think it just covers the land. I can see the light trying to get through, break through, but I feel like there's a hard crust on the planet now, like it's getting spiky stalagmites, almost like a porcupine shell around the planet. Why is this entity doing this? What does it want? Everything is going black. It's like it just wants darkness. It wants to shut out the light. The light trying to get through this darkness. The darkness is getting blacker and blacker and blacker around the planet. So there is nothing left for the light to interact with. How does that make you feel when you see that happening? Sad. I feel cold and chilly. I almost get the sense as if the darkness is saying to me, this is what I do. This is darkness. I am taking away the light. I don't have to justify myself. The darkness is just saying what it does. It takes away the light. And I get this feeling that once it's destroyed the light, what it has then created, so this porcupine planet with the stalagmites that's black, it's just discarded, as it is no longer any use to it. The darkness does not want or need it anymore, but it is denying the light an opportunity to be there. I can feel a coldness through my hand as if I am touching the planet, as if I am outside the planet and touching it, and it is cold to the touch. What has made it cold? The darkness. The darkness has sucked the light out of it. The darkness needs to shut down the light. Why does it need to shut down the light? It's scared of the light. Why? Because it cannot exist in the light. So it tries to shut down the light because it cannot exist where there is light. Yes. I can see waves now on this side, waves of light and galaxies. And then it graduates to darkness. And the darkness is scared of the light. So it tries to shut it down. It feels like the darkness cannot live in the light. So it's got to shut the light down. For it to survive, it's got to turn out the light. Now I've got my hands around a light planet, and I can feel the darkness is pushing down and pushing down on this light planet. And underneath my hands, where I would expect this light planet to feel warm, I can feel a bit of warmness, but I can more feel the coldness on my hands pushing down on this planet. So the darkness has to take the light away in order for it to exist. But it also feeds off the light too. Yes, it's draining the energy out of the light to turn it into the darkness. Do you have any sense of how it feels to be the darkness? And the reason I ask that is because in this situation that he's in, he's aware of the light, but he seems to have a real link, a real sensation of the darkness from his point of perception, particularly as he feels he's got his hands around this light planet and he's pushing down. So I ask him if he's got a sense of what it feels like to be the darkness. I've just had an image of a shark moving through the ocean. It has to keep moving or it dies. It has to keep moving on. Its purpose is to be and to shut out the light. There is no sort of, once it's been somewhere, it does not think of it again. Once it's been somewhere, it has painted it black, and then it does not think about it again. It just moves on, like a shark. It eats and swims. It cannot stop. It cannot pause for a moment, or put its barriers up, or think, well, I've done my bit now, the light cannot touch me. It's a very cold feeling, very, very cold. And the darkness feels like, sort of like, well, I don't need to justify myself. This is just what I do. And I can no more stop breathing. It's a momentum. The darkness is a momentum. And I can see bits of light trying to shine through like a diamond. There's dark figures floating in front of the light. It feels very, very cold. And the light they're showing me the light trying to blast its way through this darkness. And how does that feel when when that happens. Now at this point, this client's seeing, he's immersed in darkness, he is the darkness, and he's seeing the light trying to come through. And at this point, the client jumped on the bed that hard that all I can say is, it's a good job I didn't need to go to the toilet at that point in time, because I jumped so hard. Literally, my heart was pounding. I don't know how I didn't scream, because he jumped so hard. And I ask him in the session, I say, tell me what just happened. My heart's like that. The light just overwhelmed the darkness. And how did that feel? Shock. It's like I was fearing it happening, but it jolted through my entire body. Now there is a bit of darkness left, but there's a really bright light. It's as though I'm lying on my back and I can sort of see my hands, but they are translucent, as if I'm trying to look through fog at my hands, but the fog is getting lighter and lighter all of the time. How does that feel? It's sort of like, just lie back, just let things be. I can see fields now, fields of wheat, where there was all darkness. I can now see new life. And it's all sort of golden wheat. And now he starts laughing, and he's laughing uncontrollably. And when he stops, I say to him, what are you laughing at? And he says, I'm flying over this wheat field, and there's little heart-shaped creations made out of the wheat in the wheat field. And one of them, when it becomes aware that I'm looking at it, turns into a butterfly and flies up into the air. It's symbolic, and I see that same butterfly now, but it is multicolored. The landscape has changed, and now I see that there is an eagle, but it is a multicolored one, and the eagle is soaring. And now I can see colours all bubbling on the surface, and trees are popping up, and all new growth is appearing. What does that look like? It looks like mega fauna. The trees are huge, bigger than giant redwoods, absolutely huge. I can't see the tops. They're very, very tall structures. And the light within these trees, it's not very bright, but it's there. There's a luminescence to everything. But mostly, it's as if a lamp is being shined into fog. It's an all-enveloping light, and it's getting brighter now. It's a gradual increase of light. Nothing straight away, but a gradual increase of light. Now something is trying to get my attention. I can see a big eye in front of me. Tell me about that eye. At first it was a vortex in front of me, but now I can see it's an eye. And as I zoom out, it looks like a fox. It's like a huge, huge fox, and I'm having to zoom out to see it. It's so big. It's moving over this new landscape. It's so big that I can't really discern it. What feeling do you get from that fox? Power. What is it that the fox wants? I have a feeling that it wants to protect the planet that has just been saved from the darkness. It's spreading the light. Do you feel like it is a guardian of the planet? Yes, it's a guardian. It's joyful. It's bigger than an animal. It's huge. I feel like it's an energy. I feel like it's taken on an animalistic physiology to make it easier for me to understand that it is an energy. And I can feel the energy in my chest. I'm not saying that I am that energy, but I feel sympathy with it. What's that energy here to do? now on this planet now that the darkness has been shaken off. It's here to protect the planet. I'm feeling it's a manifestation of the planet. It's an energy from the planet that is then going to protect the planet. And it's creating a barrier around the planet. This fox is running round and round the planet, and it's creating a force field so that the planet cannot then be perceived by the darkness. Tell me how the light managed to break through that darkness, because that darkness was big. It started off as a diamond, a hazy diamond. I was experiencing it in the darkness and seeing this light come through. At first I thought the darkness had repelled it and the light could not get through. And then suddenly there was a huge burst of light, a huge surge, and it jolted me as if there was an electrical surge going through my body. It shocked me, and then I was inert, as if I was transmuted. And I feel that like the light had transmuted whatever I was on that planet. And now I'm part of the planet, and I'm observing it from the outside as well, as if I'm a shared consciousness of the planet, but I'm also outside of it as well. Do you have any sense of where this planet is or what this planet is? I don't believe this is Earth. I believe this is an Earth-type planet. It's very similar, but I didn't see any beings on it, so I don't think it could have been Earth. The darkness had slowly overtaken it, almost totally, and then the light came back at the last minute and overtook the darkness and transmuted it and made it inert. And now the light, while the light is strengthening on this planet, it is cloaking itself from the darkness, so the darkness cannot come back after it again until it becomes strong and a really shining light. It's got to be hidden from the dark. How will it do that? The fox is putting a cloak around it so it can't be seen. It's almost like a debris field. You can't see it. You're looking for it, but you can't see that it's there. Until it's strong enough to be the light, it's got to hide itself. I felt like I was part of the planet and I was being consumed by the darkness and then overcome by light. And now it just feels tranquil, peaceful, good, yes. And I just need to be. The fox is saying to me, just be. Stop all this thinking, just be. How does it feel to be free of the darkness? It's as if I cannot comprehend the darkness anymore, as if I'm just suspended in light and there's nothing for me to do at this time, just to help the planet grow, and I do this by just being. I don't need to put any energy into what I'm doing. And I feel rays of light emanating from me. How do you feel as that planet that the darkness was able to take such a strong hold? How was it able to do that? I got complacent, as if I thought, I am the light. I don't need to protect myself because I am the light. It feels odd saying that, as if I shouldn't need to say that. But the light got complacent because it was the light. It did not feel that it had to be vigilant. And I'm conscious of, for evil to win, all it needs is for the light not to be vigilant. How can a planet be vigilant in order to stop the darkness from getting its hooks in? It's not enough to be a light bulb. Light flashing through the galaxy, that's what I'm seeing. It's not enough to be a light bulb. You have to have electricity running through you. You've always got to be pumping out light and generating light. You can't just be a light bulb. It's not enough to think, I am the light, without actually being the light. You must be the light and generate that light energy in motion in order to keep the darkness at bay. You must forever keep your frequency high. Do not let it drop, as that is how the darkness gets in. You can't just be a vessel. You have to generate the light. Yes, you have to be emitting that frequency constantly, so the darkness cannot come anywhere near. Yes, as soon as you think that you are the light and you have won, and you become complacent, the darkness comes back. I see. So you constantly have to be emitting that high level of frequency to keep the darkness away. Yes. So it's an eternal dance of the light and dark. Yes. The second you allow your frequency to drop, it will come back in. Yes. You cannot kill it off completely, as it has got to be. Why? This is me, obviously. Why? Why has it got to be? Why is it necessary? How would the light know it was light unless there is darkness there to be forever prodding it? You cannot let the darkness win, because if the darkness wins, then there is nothing left. Nothing exists. So you cannot let the darkness win. So in a way, the darkness needs the light to survive and exist. The darkness needs the light, and the light needs the darkness. So I kind of agree with him here and say yes, because if the darkness takes over everything and snuffs out the light, then it has got no source to feed off, and it too ceases to exist. And then the client says, oh, I've just had a huge whistling in my ear. That really hurt. And he says, I feel like that was some sort of confirmation to me in a way. And then he proceeds to say, the light, how does the light know what it is unless it can measure itself against the dark? The darkness fears the light, and the darkness is not there to create. It's there to destroy. Once it's destroyed everything, it can't feed off what is already destroyed, so it doesn't matter to it anymore. Whereas the light is always trying to raise the vibration of everything that it has got. It never stands still, the light. It always, or it should always, be trying to evolve in a positive way. It should never rest on its laurels. And I say yes, when you get complacent, the darkness comes. Yes, it is the balance, it is the dance. Maybe sometimes the light has to let a bit of darkness in. There is a higher purpose. The light does, on occasion, allow the dark in, to allow it to grow. I'm seeing the picture of atrophy and wood. It has to be destroyed and changed in order to be resurrected as the light. And so I say, yes, okay, so the darkness is a catalyst for change, for the light to know itself. And sometimes the light will allow the darkness in order to provide change, true change through knowledge, and the feeling of the emotions that the darkness brings up. And then the client says, yes. It's funny, as I feel quite passionate about this. It's as if I'm looking at something in a Petri dish. It's as if this is something that has to happen. And I say, both are necessary. Yes, it's a necessary thing. It's always going to be. As soon as it stops being, then everything stops. As soon as there is no more darkness, where can the light go from there? And so I allow the darkness that point, and I say, okay, so yes, the darkness allows the progression of the light. It allows the light to grow. And then he says, now I'm seeing a wood, and there's dark trees, but the trees are surrounded by light, and the two are coexisting. And I say, but the dance forever is the light and the dark. How do they coexist together when they are both so different? And then he says, I'm being given the image of a mushroom. The mushroom has to grow in darkness, but it is a growth in a way, and it is used by the light. And I thought that was an excellent analogy of where the darkness and the light can coexist to create something quite beautiful, the dance of the light and the dark. And then he says, I feel like I'm back with that planet again that I was on now, and it is really light. So it's turned into a really light planet. And that shroud that had been created by the fox, which was just a physical manifestation of an energy, so he could perceive it, they've shaken that shroud off now because they don't need it anymore. It now feels that it's got to now it's fought off the darkness. It feels really, really happy. And it says that now it's fought off the darkness and it's taken off this shroud. The darkness can't come near it anymore because its frequency is so high. And I say, what's the sense that you get from that planet now that the frequency is so high? I'm feeling it in my heart. And this planet now knows, because it's fought off the darkness and its frequency is so high, it now feels that it has got to take the fight to the darkness. And I say, I see. So now it's fought the darkness off itself and it's become more powerful. It now wants to go to the darkness and fight it some more. Excuse me. Yes. I'm getting this sense of, look at me, look at me. It's such a joyful feeling. Powerful, powerful light. Joyful feeling, joyful planet now. I am powerful. And the darkness cannot fight against me. I am seeing it now truly. I am the planet. The planet is me. It's all me. An electrical energy racing through me. Now I am free. I've got to go and do good elsewhere and help others do the same. Now I'm seeing radio frequencies emanating from me, and I have to share those frequencies of joy elsewhere. And those frequencies, when they touch other places, will be affected by them. Fizzing energy. And I'm sending it all out. And these frequencies coming out of me as this planet, will affect others. I cannot contain the light just within myself anymore. I have to share it with others. Wow, that's so beautiful. So I hope you found that information useful. From the perception point of, he felt it as the planet, how the darkness had almost taken the planet over, and then he felt himself, because the darkness had taken over him as the planet, he felt himself being transmuted, the dark energy is transmuted into the light, and then he grows so strong as the light that he then wanted to take the fight elsewhere. I thought that was very uplifting story, which is why I wanted to share it with you guys today. So, as I mentioned earlier in this video, whilst I was coughing, I am quite tired, and I am taking all of the signals from my divine spiritual team to have a little bit of a rest. The kids are off school next week, so I am seeing 3 clients next week, but I'm not booking any more in. I'm only seeing 3, and the rest of that week I'm going to have 4 days off. I'm going to have a rest, and I'm going to have some quality time with my children. So I'm not going to make a video next week. There will be no YouTube video next week. I'm going to give myself some time to have a rest, because it normally takes me 2 nights to transcribe the sessions, and I'm ready for rest. I transcribe sessions Monday, Tuesday night. I do the meditation Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, I'm editing client videos, and Saturday night. So I only have Sunday night to sit and read, and I'm ready for a break. So no YouTube next week, and then I will come back the week after with something absolutely incredible to share, and hopefully very, very revitalised and re-energised. All of my sessions for the year are up on my website now, because I have people contacting me from all over the world wanting to book in, and they're coming to see me in different months of the year. So I've just put everything up there. So if you would like to come and see me for a session, to come and find out who you are, what your previous incarnations are, who your multi-dimensional parts are throughout time, space, dimension, angelic realms. If you feel you may have an entity attachment that is anchoring your frequency and not allowing you to rise up, and I am seeing a lot of that at the moment, lots and lots and lots of entity attachments, lots. If you feel that you have one of those and you want to come see me, come and book in. Book a session with me. I do all my bookings on my website, which is www.laurawhitworthqhht.com. And if you scroll right down to the bottom, all of my sessions are there. That's it for this week. It's turned out to be quite a long one, almost an hour and 20 minutes. Sorry about that. I'm sure I will get in trouble with somebody somewhere with regards to the length of my video. But yeah, you can always pause it and go and do whatever you want to do. Have a fabulous couple of weeks until I see you next time. I will still be doing the meditations on the Wednesdays. I'm not going to not do those. So if you still want to meditate with me at 10 p.m. UK time Wednesdays, love to see you there. But I'll be back with you in 2 weeks' time. Whatever happens over the next 2 weeks in crazy 3Dville, have an awareness of it. But remember what I said right at the beginning of this video. We are 2 streams of particle pulsation now on Earth, which is pulling into 2 dimensions. At the moment, we're aware of each other. We're all milling around in the same soup. But at a certain point, we're going to split. Like the heating up, if you like. Ooh! Something just popped into my head. Like the heating up of something that's been mixed. These light waves that are coming in. That's coming into the planet. Heating everything up. Stirring everything up. At a certain point, this reaction happens and it pulls the 2 substances apart. When that happens, that's the ascension event. So at the moment, we're still being boiled alive in the soup. And we're aware of all of the 3D craziness going on. But when we've almost been boiled to death, then the 2 will split. That's a nice thought to leave you with for this week. Hope that helps you on some level. Love you all dearly. Thank you very much for each and every comment that you leave me. I don't interact with anybody other than my clients and you guys, so it is very, very nice to have the odd conversation here and there. And I do try and respond to everybody that leaves me a comment. If I haven't done, it's because I've missed it. I normally do try and respond to everybody. So have a wonderful week, my loves, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Until we connect next time, make sure you keep vibrating high. Till next time, bye.